Captain William Fletcher had been flying planes for 20 years. His face showed the many years of flying across blue skies. Today was just a normal flight from London to Manchester. William thought it would be easy like all his other flights. The plane took off smoothly. People settled in their seats. Some read books, others watched movies. William checked all the instruments as the plane reached its flying height. Then Emma, a flight attendant with kind eyes and a warm smile, came to the cockpit. Her face looked worried. "Captain, we have a problem in the back," she said quietly. "Four men in leather jackets are causing trouble. They've had too many drinks." William stayed calm. Before flying big planes, he was in the Royal Air Force. He had seen much worse than angry passengers. "How bad is it?" he asked Emma. "Getting worse," she replied. "They want more alcohol and won't listen to us." When Mr. Parker, an older man in seat 14C, asked them to be quiet, they pushed him back into his seat. William nodded, thinking about what to do. Just then, they heard loud shouting from the cabin. There was also the sound of something breaking. "I'll handle this," William told his co-pilot James. "Keep the plane steady." James nodded, taking full control of the aircraft. William stood up and straightened his uniform. He had dealt with many hard situations in his life. Once, during a terrible storm, he had saved 8 men from a sinking boat. Another time, he had landed a plane safely when one engine failed. This problem seemed small compared to those. As he walked out of the cockpit, he saw passengers looking scared. Children were hiding behind their parents. Some people were trying to move away from the back of the plane where the noise was coming from. The 4 men were big and tough-looking. They wore black leather jackets with patches showing they belonged to a motorcycle club called Road Kings. Their leader, a tall man with a thick beard, was shouting at a young flight attendant named Oliver. "We paid good money for this flight," the leader yelled. "We deserve more drinks." Oliver looked scared but stood his ground. "I'm sorry, sir, but I can't serve you any more alcohol. It's against rules to serve passengers who've had too much." "Rules?" another biker laughed. "We don't care about your stupid rules." The leader pushed past Oliver and grabbed some bottles from the drinks cart. Other passengers watched in fear, not knowing what might happen next. William walked calmly down the aisle toward them. He didn't rush. He didn't shout. He simply moved with the quiet confidence of someone who had faced real danger before. When he reached the group, he stood straight and spoke clearly. "Gentlemen," he said, his voice carrying quiet authority. "I'm Captain Fletcher. This stops now." The leader turned to look at William. He was much bigger than the captain and seemed ready for a fight. "Mind your own business, old man," he said with a sneer. "We paid for this flight like everyone else." "You did," William agreed calmly. "And like everyone else, you agreed to follow crew instructions when you boarded. Please return to your seats." The bikers looked at each other and laughed. The leader stepped closer to William, trying to look scary. Or what? A heavy silence fell over the cabin. Everyone watched, holding their breath. The leader's face was red with anger. His friends stood behind him, ready to back him up. William didn't back down. He didn't show any fear. Instead, he did something that surprised everyone on the plane. He smiled. It wasn't a nervous smile or a fake smile. It was the knowing smile of someone who had faced much worse than angry men on a plane. It was the smile of someone who knew exactly what to do next. The leader seemed confused by William's reaction. He had expected fear or anger. Instead, he got this strange, confident smile. For the first time, he seemed unsure of himself. William looked directly into the leader's eyes. He was about to say something that would change everything. "The E&D let me tell you something," William said, his voice calm but strong enough for everyone to hear in the now silent cabin. 15 years ago, I wasn't flying nice, comfortable planes like this one. I was flying rescue helicopters for the Royal Air Force." The leader of the bikers crossed his arms, trying to look unimpressed. But William could see he had his attention. One night, the worst storm in 20 years hit the North Sea. Waves as tall as buildings. Winds that could flip a helicopter. But there were 8 men on a broken oil rig, and they needed help. William paused. The whole plane was listening now. Even the children had stopped crying. My engine started failing halfway there. Warning lights flashed everywhere. My co-pilot wanted to turn back. William's eyes never left the biker leader's face. But those 8 men wouldn't survive another hour in that storm. One of the younger bikers shifted uncomfortably. The leader's hard expression began to soften, just a little. Flying isn't just about machines and fuel, William continued. It's about trust. Those 8 men trusted me with their lives. And today, he gestured around the cabin, all these people trust me with theirs. A baby gurgled somewhere in the back. An old woman wiped a tear from her eye. I believe that deep down, you understand what's at stake here. This isn't about drinks or rules. It's about respect for everyone on this plane who just wants to get home safely. The leader looked around at the faces watching them, a young family with wide-eyed children, an elderly couple holding hands tightly, a woman traveling alone who seemed both scared and angry. Something changed in the biker's eyes. He seemed to really see these people for the first time. We're not looking for trouble, the biker said, his voice softer now. I know, William replied. I'm not asking for anything difficult. Just remember who you are beyond those jackets, men who understand respect. The leader stared at William for a long moment. The other passengers held their breath, wondering what would happen next. Then the biker squinted, looking more closely at William's face. Wait a minute, he said slowly. Your face. I know you from somewhere. William tilted his head, studying the man in return. Thompson, the biker suddenly asked. Royal Marines, 45 Commando. You flew us out after that training accident in Scotland in '08. The tension in the cabin shifted as everyone watched this unexpected turn. William looked more carefully at the man's face, pushing past the thick beard and the years that had changed them both. Recognition slowly dawned in his eyes. The Avalanche Rescue, William said quietly. Northern Scotland. Your team was buried under snow during winter exercises. Yes. Thompson said, his tough appearance melting away. You landed that helicopter on a tiny ledge when everyone else said it couldn't be done. You had a broken leg, William remembered. 3 broken ribs too, if I recall. Thompson nodded, his whole manner changing. You saved my life that day. And I repaid you by acting like this. He shook his head, looking ashamed. I insisted my mates be lifted first, even with my injuries. And now look at me. The other bikers looked confused as their leader's attitude completely changed. Sorry, Captain, Thompson said, holding out his hand to William. We got carried away. Had too much to drink before the flight. Wanted to keep the party going. William shook his hand firmly. We all have bad days, Thompson. What matters is how we turn them around. Boys, Thompson turned to his friends, back to our seats. No more trouble. The group nodded, suddenly respectful. They collected their things and went back to their seats, apologizing to Oliver and Emma as they passed. As William turned to head back to the cockpit, he noticed something surprising happening throughout the cabin. The tension that had filled the aircraft only moments ago was changing into something else. People were talking to each other, sharing relieved smiles. A young girl waved shyly at Thompson, and to everyone's surprise, the tough biker waved back with a gentle smile. Emma touched William's arm as he passed. That was amazing, she whispered. How did you know they would listen? William smiled. Most people want to do the right thing. Sometimes they just need a reminder of who they really are. He walked back to the cockpit, where James was waiting with questions in his eyes. Everything all right now? James asked. Yes, William said, settling back into his seat. I think our flight just got a lot smoother. The plane flew smoothly through the clouds as William returned to his captain's seat. James looked at him with wide eyes, wanting to know everything that had happened. "How did you handle those men?" James asked. "I thought we might need to make an emergency landing." William smiled and checked the instruments. Sometimes people just need to be reminded of their better selves. Back in the main cabin, something unexpected was happening. The mood had completely changed. The fear was gone, replaced by a feeling of connection among the passengers. Thompson, the biker leader, was now helping an old man put his bag in the overhead bin. Another biker offered his leather jacket to an elderly woman who had mentioned feeling cold. "Thank you, young man," the woman said, surprised by his kindness. "It's quite chilly on these flights." "No problem, ma'am," the biker replied with a gentle smile that no one would have thought possible 30 minutes ago. Emma, the flight attendant, watched in amazement. She had been ready to call for police to meet them at Manchester Airport. Now she was seeing the same men helping other passengers and apologizing for their behavior. A little boy of about 7 walked slowly up the aisle. He stopped near Thompson's seat, clutching a small toy airplane. "Excuse me, sir," the boy said, his voice small but brave. "My dad says you were in the Royal Marines." Thompson looked down at the boy and nodded. "That's right, little man. My dad was in the army," the boy said proudly. "He says Marines are the toughest soldiers in the world." Thompson's face softened. His friends watched, surprised by this gentler side of their leader. "What's your name?" Thompson asked. "Henry," the boy replied. "And I want to be a pilot when I grow up, just like Captain Fletcher." Thompson smiled. "That's a fine goal, Henry. The captain is a good man to look up to. He saved my life once, you know." Henry's eyes grew wide. "Really? How?" Thompson patted the seat next to him. "Sit down and I'll tell you all about it." As Henry sat down, Thompson began telling the story of the Scottish Mountain Rescue. His friends gathered around too, adding details and showing respect as they talked about William's bravery. Halfway through the flight, William came out to check on the situation. He was surprised to find Thompson sitting with Henry, showing him pictures of aircraft he'd flown in during his service time. "And this one," Thompson was saying, showing a photo on his phone, "is the helicopter Captain Fletcher flew to save us. Landed it on a patch of mountain not much bigger than this plane's toilet." Henry looked up at William with pure admiration. "Captain, is it true you saved Mr. Thompson when no one else would fly?" William smiled. "I was just doing my job, Henry. And sometimes Mr. Thompson and his friends forget how brave they were that day too." Thompson looked down, seeming embarrassed by the praise. "We were just young and stupid back then. Not much has changed, eh?" He looked at his friends with a small laugh. "People change," William said kindly. "We all grow. The important thing is to remember who we really are inside." As William walked back through the cabin, other passengers stopped him to say thank you or shake his hand. The flight that had started with fear was turning into one of the most memorable journeys many of them had ever taken. Near the back of the plane, one of the younger bikers was helping a mother with her crying baby. He made funny faces that turned the baby's cries into giggles. "I have a little one at home," he explained when he saw William watching. 9 months old. Miss her like crazy when we're on the road." "What's your name?" William asked. "Robert," the young man answered. "Listen, Captain, I'm really sorry about before. When Thompson drinks too much, we all follow along. Stupid, really. What matters is what you do next, Robert," William said. "Seems to me you're making good choices now." As the plane began its descent toward Manchester, Emma approached William. Her face showed amazement and curiosity. "How did you know that would work?" she asked. "They could have reacted completely differently. They could have gotten more aggressive when you confronted them." William looked out at the green fields of England appearing through the clouds below. "In my experience," he said thoughtfully, "most people don't want to be the villain in someone else's story. Sometimes they just need a gentle reminder of their better selves." Emma nodded slowly. You saw something in them that the rest of us couldn't see. We all have different sides to us, William replied. The trick is knowing which side to speak to. The plane began its descent toward Manchester Airport. William's steady hands guided the aircraft smoothly through small patches of turbulence. Next to him, James handled the radio communications with the tower. Manchester approach, this is Flight 247 beginning final descent, James said into his headset. In the main cabin, passengers fastened their seatbelts as Emma and Oliver walked through checking that everything was secure. The mood was completely different from earlier. People were chatting with each other, sharing stories, and even laughing. Henry, the little boy, was still sitting next to Thompson. The big biker had given him his phone to look through more pictures of helicopters and planes. This one's really cool, Henry said, pointing to a military transport plane. Have you been on one of these? Several times, Thompson nodded. Not very comfortable, but they get the job done. Much like me, I suppose. He laughed at his own joke. Henry's mother watched from across the aisle, still amazed at how things had turned out. When the bikers had first started causing trouble, she had been terrified for her son. Now Henry was getting an impromptu aviation lesson from the same man. As the plane descended through the clouds, the green landscape of northern England came into view. Fields looked like a patchwork quilt below them, divided by stone walls and narrow roads. Ladies and gentlemen, William's voice came through the speakers, we are beginning our final approach to Manchester Airport. The weather is clear with a temperature of 16 degrees Celsius. Please return to your seats and make sure your seatbelts are fastened. Emma walked by Thompson and Henry. I need you back in your seat now, young man, she said with a kind smile. Can I sit with Mr. Thompson until we land? Henry asked hopefully. Sorry, love, Emma replied. Rules say you need to be with your parent during landing. Thompson gently patted Henry's shoulder. Listen to the lady, Henry. Rules are important, especially on planes. That's something I learned today. Henry nodded and returned to his mother, clutching a small piece of paper. Mr. Thompson wrote down his email so Dad can send him a message sometime, he told his mother excitedly. The plane continued its descent. The landing gear lowered with a mechanical hum. William guided the aircraft with the precision that came from thousands of hours of flight experience. In row 23, an elderly man who had been watching everything turned to Thompson. I was worried about this flight when you boys started acting up, he said honestly. But I have to say, you've turned it around completely. Thompson looked embarrassed. Not my proudest moment, sir. But meeting the captain again, it was like life giving me a second chance to do the right thing. Second chances are rare, the old man nodded. Good on you for taking it. The plane's wheels touched down smoothly on the runway. As they taxied toward the terminal, something unexpected happened. People began to clap, not just the usual polite applause for a good landing, but enthusiastic clapping that spread throughout the cabin. William heard it in the cockpit and looked at James with surprise. What's that about? I think that's for you, Captain, James smiled. Word spreads quickly on a plane. After they reached the gate and the engines were shut down, William stood at the cockpit door to say goodbye to passengers as they left, as was his custom. Many stopped to shake his hand or say thank you. When Thompson and his friends approached, they all looked different somehow, still in their leather jackets, still big and tough looking, but changed in a way that was hard to describe. Captain, Thompson said, extending his hand. Thank you for today. And for Scotland all those years ago. William shook his hand firmly. It was good to see you again, Thompson, even under these circumstances. Thompson reached into his pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. For when you doubt it made a difference, he said, handing it to William. As the bikers walked away, Robert, the youngest one, turned back. Our club is doing a charity ride for the Children's Hospital next month, he said. Would be an honor if you'd come along. Doesn't matter if you don't have a bike, you can ride with one of us. William smiled. I might just do that. After all the passengers had disembarked, William finally opened the note Thompson had given him. It contained just 7 simple words: "Thanks for seeing me, not just my jacket." He carefully folded the note and put it in his pocket. In 20 years of flying, this would be a day he would remember. Emma appeared at his side. "The next flight crew is here, Captain. Your day is done." "Yes," William nodded, still thinking about Thompson's note. "And I think it ended rather well." The end. 1 month later, William stood in the parking lot of Manchester Children's Hospital. Around him, more than 50 motorcycles gleamed in the morning sun. Riders in leather jackets were gathering, drinking coffee from paper cups and checking their bikes. William felt a little out of place in his casual clothes among all the leather and chrome. He was searching the crowd for a familiar face when he heard a voice behind him. "Captain! You actually came." Thompson walked up with a big smile and gave William a firm handshake. "I said I might," William replied with a smile. "Though I admit I feel a bit underdressed." Thompson laughed. "Don't worry about that. Come meet the rest of the club." As they walked through the crowd, William noticed something surprising. Many of the bikers had teddy bears and other soft toys strapped to their motorcycles. Some carried backpacks that seemed to be full of gifts. "What's all this?" William asked, pointing to the toys. "That's why we're here," Thompson explained. "Each year we visit kids who have to stay in the hospital for a long time. Bring them toys, read stories, give the parents a break. Today's our biggest event of the year." William was genuinely surprised. "I had no idea." "Most people don't," Thompson said. "They see the jackets and the big bikes and make up their minds about who we are. Just like on that plane." They reached a group where Robert was checking something on his phone. He looked up and broke into a grin when he saw William. "The captain made it," Robert announced, and several people turned to look. "Everyone," Thompson said loudly, "this is Captain Fletcher, the pilot I told you about. The one who saved my Surrey behind in Scotland and then put up with us on that flight last month." The bikers gathered around, shaking William's hand and thanking him for coming. Many mentioned how Thompson had told them the whole story about the flight. "We're not always proud of him," a woman with bright red hair said with a laugh, "but he's been a different man since that flight." Thompson put his arm around her. "This is my wife, Lisa. She's the real boss of this outfit." Lisa smiled at William. "Thank you for what you did. Thompson told me everything. Sometimes he forgets who he really is." "We all do sometimes," William said kindly. A hospital administrator came out to greet them and give instructions. The bikers would go in small groups to different wards. Each child would get a toy and some time with the visitors. "Captain," Thompson said, "would you like to come with my group? There's someone special I think you should meet." William nodded, curious. They walked through the hospital hallways, a strange parade of tough-looking bikers carrying colorful toys. Nurses smiled and waved, clearly used to this annual visit. Thompson led them to a ward with oncology written on the door. Inside were children of different ages, some in beds, others sitting in chairs or playing in a small area in the center. "Jack," Thompson called to a thin boy sitting by the window. "I brought someone to meet you." The boy turned, his face lighting up when he saw the bikers. Despite his obvious illness, he had no hair and looked very pale. His eyes were bright and cheerful. "Thompson," the boy said happily. "Did you bring the helmet?" "Of course I did," Thompson said, producing a small motorcycle helmet from his bag. "And I brought a real airplane pilot to meet you." William stepped forward, suddenly understanding why Thompson had wanted him to come. "Jack wants to be a pilot when he grows up," Thompson explained. "Has airplane posters all over his room at home." Jack's eyes went wide. "A real pilot? Do you fly the big planes?" William knelt beside Jack's chair. "I do. Boeing 737s mostly. I hear you want to fly someday too." For the next hour, William sat with Jack, answering his questions about planes and flying. The boy knew a surprising amount about aircraft for someone so young. Later, as they were leaving, a nurse stopped William. "Thank you for coming," she said. Jack has had a really rough time lately. This meant the world to him. Outside in the parking lot, William turned to Thompson. "Thank you for inviting me. Jack is an amazing kid." Thompson nodded. "He's fighting hard. The doctors say he's doing better than expected." He paused, looking thoughtful. "You know, sometimes people like Jack make me feel ashamed. I have my health, my family, everything, and there I was, causing trouble on your plane." "We all make mistakes," William said. "It's what we do after that counts." Thompson smiled and reached into his jacket. "I have something for you." He handed William a leather patch with wings embroidered on it. "Honorary member of the Road Kings. If you ever need anything, any of us will be there." William looked at the patch, touched by the gesture. "I'm honored." "No, Captain," Thompson said seriously. "We're the ones who are honored. You saw past our jackets that day. You saw who we could be instead of who we were being. Not many people do that." As William drove home that evening, he kept thinking about Jack's brave smile and Thompson's words. In his job, he often felt he was just moving people from one place to another. Today had reminded him that sometimes, the journey changed lives in ways no one could predict. The end.